As a follow-up to the lessons from David and power and restraint and control, we're going to take a more modern view of this. There's a lot that has been going on, we'll say, with men and power these days. If you've been around any social media or the news, you're familiar with a lot of people who you may have looked to and got good advice from being tied up with to not put too much emphasis on it, to be wrapped up in, let's say, a group of individuals who were letting money and uncontrolled and unchecked power let them turn into men that we do not want to be associated with. With that said, power does not create corruption. Power reveals corruption. Give a man some influence, give him money, give him status, give him authority, and what is inside of him will start to expand. For some men, that expansion will produce great steadiness and leadership. For others, it will produce decay. So the question isn't whether you want power. The question is, can you survive power? Power isn't just political. It's financial margins, it's physical capabilities, social influences, leadership in your home, autonomy in your career. Those things are power. As men gain these, something subtle will begin to happen. Fewer people will correct them. Fewer people will challenge them. Fewer people will say no to them. That is where the erosion begins. Not in the failure, but in the comfort. In the modern world, corruption is rarely going to look dramatic. It's going to look like cutting some small corners, hiding your indulgences, flirting with attention, drinking more because you earned it, skipping your training because you were too busy. Power creates insulation. Insulation starts to remove friction. Friction is what keeps men sharp. Remember that. Without the friction, the drift will set in and accelerate. To touch on the previous video about David again, in the beginning, when David got power, he handled it pretty well. He was decisive, he was courageous, he was faithful under the pressure. But later, when he was king, he stopped going to battle. He started staying home. Then Bathsheba comes into play. Comfort starts to replace discipline in his life. Power amplifies his appetite. Corruption follows. It isn't sudden. You drift to corruption. That is the warning. The moment that you stop sharpening yourself, you begin to dull. At first, power corrupts men internally. Their egos grow. Correction feels insulting to them. Accountability begins to feel unnecessary. You start to believe in, I earned this, I deserve this. No one understands the pressure I'm under. That's when your integrity begins to weaken, though. Strong men must voluntarily maintain standards higher than the environment around them requires. Otherwise, when they get power, the standards will lower. If you get power, you need to survive it. You need to keep training. You need to keep seeking correction from others. You need to keep submitting to structure. You need to keep humble men near you. You need to keep doing hard things. Success is more dangerous than the struggle. Struggle builds men. Success will start to test them. If you gain strength, money, or influence, you need to tighten the discipline. You do not start to relax. Power by itself is not evil. When power is unexamined, that is when we start to see evil. If you begin to rise in your strength, your influence, and your authority, that is when you need to be guarding your integrity harder than ever. The bear doesn't disappear when you win, it just begins to wait. That is the standard.